Hi there, this is Colin Brown from Hearthought Enterprises. I wanted to speak to you today about willpower, what it is, how to use it, how to actually generate more willpower in yourself, and one or two very interesting things about exactly how that functions in your mind. So let's take a step back and look at our minds. What do I mean by willpower? In our mind we have three levels. We have an emotional level where we have all our feelings, all our greed, hate, love, everything else that goes in among the emotional sphere. Then we have our mental abilities, how we choose to think. And on top of that we have what I'm calling our will area. And this is our ability to focus on things, our ability to concentrate, our ability just purely to get through the day, to do everything that we want to do in our lives. And let's see how we can explore that a little bit. Now, with willpower there are lots of different ways of doing it. Different people have different levels of willpower. It's sort of a bit like a muscle, isn't it? Some people are very, very strong in their wills, and people that strong can go on to become managing. People have different levels of willpower. People can go on and become managing directors of big companies because they have an extraordinarily large level of willpower to force things through. Obviously you need more qualities than that to become such a managing director, but that is one which is extremely helpful. And other people, they don't seem to have much willpower at all. They have difficulty just strolling on through the day. So there are different levels of it. And just like anything, again, just like a muscle, you can overwork it. If you do too much in one day, then come the end of that day, you're going to feel really unable to do what you want to do. It's not a joke that typically in Britain, members of parliament often have scandals and bad behaviour, and it all happens late at night. Is when they've done all their work throughout their day and they really push themselves to their limit, and their limit is overreached. And after they've overreached their limit, what happens? Well, anything can happen. They're losing a bit of self-control because they've no longer got the willpower to hold them to their own probably wished for good behaviours, and it keeps the scandal press going. But there are also other things which use up your willpower. Your willpower can be oddly stressed. There are other things which use up your willpower. Your willpower can be oddly played upon. For example, sometimes you might hear a song on the radio. Say as you're driving along to work one morning, and just before you arrive at work a song comes on, and you arrive at work, you switch off your engine, get out, but the song is half finished. You've not heard it to the end. And your mind absolutely hates things which are half finished. So with anything half finished, it's going to try and play that song in your head all day. Now, I used to live in Germany, and Germans have a great word for it. They call it an earworm, where you have a particular song in your head and you just cannot get rid of it. And the best way to actually get rid of it is go back and play it out in full. Because once you've actually played it out in full, it's completed the task, and your mind will then leave you at rest with it. So there's an awful lot more going on in your head than you realise. and there's an awful lot of stuff going on in your head and how it functions, which can be very important to know in your life. And this thing of your mind does not like things which are half finished is a very important one. First of all, because it sucks up energy like crazy. Your mind can then be left at the end of the day with tons and tons and tons of things going around your head. A normal day office environment where people are working with computers a lot, this can happen a great deal. Just think about all the emails you get and all the suggestions or wishes for work that you get all the time. It's non-stop. But each of those, if there is a task for you in there, remain in your mind at the end of the day. And they can really take up an awful lot of the energy in your mind. An awful lot of the willpower in your head is used to keep the mental churning around and around and around of everything that's going in your head. So knowing that makes it much easier to try and solve that churning around in your head. So how do you do it? The best way is simply, at the end of the day, finish your work, say 5 minutes before you normally would, take out a piece of paper and start writing out on that piece of paper just one-line descriptions of what's going on in your head, one line for each subject. It can be simple words, it doesn't have to be full sentences, just enough words that you are able to identify the next morning exactly what you meant for each subject. And once you put that in a safe place where you know you can pick it up the next morning, then your mind is going to call completion on all that going on in your head. And that is a fantastic way of lowering your stress. So knowing that how your willpower works, how your mind absolutely loves to complete tasks, and doing a semi-completion by writing them out at the end of the day, that can reduce your stress tremendously. Your mind has got to know that the following day you're going to be able to pick up that piece of paper. You can't write it all out on a piece of paper and throw it in the bin. Your mind's a bit more clever than that. So you're going to have to do something useful with it. But once it is in a safe place, then your mind can switch off and start thinking about other things. About all the things you're going to do to enjoy your evening, perhaps. Now there's another really tricky thing which uses up your willpower. And that is making a decision. Now most of us probably don't realise that decision making is difficult. I'll give you one example. When I first moved to Germany, I went into German supermarkets. Now if you ever go round a strange supermarket you don't know and you start searching for things, you'll soon realise it takes up an awful lot of energy. You can walk out of that supermarket and feel extremely tired. And what I found quite amusing was when I got to a German supermarket, I went down one aisle, this long aisle, must have been 5 meters long, and all down one side was nothing but tins and tins and tins of sauerkraut. And on my shopping list was a tin of sauerkraut, but you sat there by this huge choice, and you sit there and think, how on earth do I decide? And it is that point where you'll suddenly realise it actually takes an awful lot of effort to decide something. You can either do it the Gorgon's Knot way, very easy, cut through and just say, okay, shut my eyes, go out, pick a tin, and that's it, that's the one I'm getting. Or you're going to have to look for some criteria to decide which is good, which is bad, be it price, be it whatever. Wine sauerkraut is usually the best. So, choosing things, making decisions, really sucks away your willpower, and that's vital to know. Because when it comes to big decision making, make decisions when you are feeling strong. If you're going to make decisions at the end of the day, they're not necessarily going to be the best decisions. Because if you haven't got the willpower to have the energy to look at everything carefully enough, you might easily start making bad decisions. Bad decisions are often made later on in the day. Ask any MP in the British Parliament. There are quite a few other things which can suck up your willpower. One is just concentrating on something. If you concentrate a lot, that takes your willpower, that takes your energy. And again, take looking back at the example of comparing your willpower to a muscle. If you run very hard and long, your muscles are going to get tired and achy. And after a while, you're not going to be able to run anymore without giving yourself a rest. So make sure you are aware of that when you're planning your day. That you plan that those tasks you really need to concentrate on are done at times when you feel energetic. At times when you feel energetic is quite a personal thing. For myself, it's normally first thing in the morning, about 9 o'clock, or towards the evening, about 6 o'clock. I start coming alive. And the worst time for me is probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just after lunch. It's a good time to fall asleep. But, so I try not to make any big decisions in the middle afternoon. Other things which use up your willpower, doing physical exercise itself, you have to concentrate on doing it. You have to push yourself sometimes. If you're pushing yourself, well, that pushing is using up your willpower. So doing hard physical exercise can really be bringing your willpower, depleting it. So that's also something to think about. So, after giving you some idea of your willpower and what uses it up and how it affects your day, the question becomes, can you actually boost your willpower? Is it really like a muscle? If it's like a muscle and you want to train for a marathon, it's now known how to train yourself so that you can actually run a marathon. So you train up for a marathon, you build up your stamina, you build up your muscle power, probably lose a lot of weight at the same time. This is something which you can also do with your willpower. Now, the easiest way of increasing your willpower is with mindfulness training. Now, if you go out on the internet and look up mindfulness training, you will see lots of descriptions of it. There are some very simple mindful techniques, if you want. Let's do one now. This is one that comes from Hawaii, a very ancient tradition. It's great because it's what I call an open-eyed mindfulness practice. You can do it anywhere and people might not even realize you're doing it. So pick a point, if you're looking at this on a monitor, pick a point, say, on the corner of the monitor and stare at it. And you keep staring and focusing on that one point. And as you are staring at it, start taking in everything that is at the periphery, to your left and to your right. You're still staring at the same point all the time, but you're becoming more and more aware of your surroundings. You're becoming aware of the extremes in your left and your right. And as you're doing that, start taking in as well everything that's going on above your head. Can you feel the ceiling above you? Can you see it? And the same for everything beneath you. Can you perhaps see the floor? Can you feel the floor with your feet? Or if you're sitting on a chair, can you feel the seat supporting you? Now feel everything behind you. Perhaps as you came into the room, you saw what sort of space there is behind you. Can you feel that space? If you're sitting right up against a wall, it feels completely different than if you're sitting with an open plan office 10 meters behind you. So can you feel everything behind you? Can you actually hear everything all around you? So this is a wonderful exercise. Okay, we can finish now. This is a wonderful exercise just to bring you into the here and now. And at the same time, with all this concentration on what is around you, you're increasing your willpower. You're flexing the muscles of your willpower. Do that several times a day, or even start off just doing it once a day. And it will help you greatly in your long-term expansion of your willpower. Another one that I really like is again a very simple trick. It's to do a set action at a set time of the day. So you can just say to yourself, okay, at 6 o'clock this evening, I'm going to touch my right knee with my right hand. You concentrate on that. You concentrate on that thought for a minute. At 6 o'clock this evening, I'm going to touch my right knee with my right hand. Then, wait and see what happens. Are you going to remember at 6 o'clock? Are you going to be constantly looking at your watch all the time? What is going to happen? Mostly I find that I will remember this exercise until about 5:30, and then the next time I will remember it would probably be about 7:30 at night. I think, oh, I've forgotten it. As soon as that happens, you sit there and think, okay, not done it. Never mind. Let's have another go. It's 7:30 now, let's do it again at 8. So you concentrate. I will touch my right knee with my right hand at 8 o'clock. And see what happens. It can be 5 to 8. You touch your right knee, look at your watch, and you think, oh, it's 5 to 8. Does that count or does that not count? Well, right at the beginning when I was first doing that exercise, I set myself a time window, what I call a time window. So if it's 8 o'clock, I'll say any time between 7:45 and 8:15, I will count that as being correct. Because this task is actually very difficult to do at first. But you practice it. You practice it for a while and keep on doing it and keep on repeating the actions once you fail. You start being able to do it. And you have a fantastic sense of accomplishment when you do manage to do it. And once you start managing to do it, you can start doing it more often. And you can take that time window of quarter of an hour beforehand to quarter of an hour afterwards and shorten it. Make it 5 to 8 o'clock and 5 past 8 o'clock. And eventually you can do it, say, 2 minutes to 8 o'clock and 2 minutes past 8 o'clock. And if you're very good, you can do 1 minute to 8 o'clock or 1 minute past 8 o'clock. Personally, I've always left it at 2 minutes to 8 o'clock and 2 minutes past. And I just found it fun. You do that 2 or 3 times a day successfully, and you start feeling great about yourself. And it's a wonderful sense of, yeah, I've set myself a task. I've set my unconscious mind a task, and I managed to complete it. And that really does boost your willpower and your self-confidence tremendously. So try it. So this is Colin Brown from Hearthought Enterprises. I wish you luck with boosting your willpower. Bye-bye.